Good. Yep. Mic's on. All right. Which camera am I looking at?
I don't think any real direct. I mean, you know, when you like say something that's directed towards the crowd, you can look like you usually do.
Okay.
That's your face.
It's my thing. It's from the office. How many cards did we do this weekend?
Over 4,000.
4,000 cards?
Cataloged and ready to be submitted.
Good Lord.
Wait till we do the ones to vault.
Let's go.
Let's go.
I've been helping you the past 3 years on this collection, but
you have.
I wanted to know, when did you start collecting Serena cards originally?
I remember the first one. I think the first one I got was one of the glossies, and it was 2019.
Okay.
I think, and it could have been 18. It was a buddy of mine, John Brennan, who's another 776 founder. He told me, he's like, hey man, cards are back. And I was like, what are you talking about? He's like, no, you don't understand. Like, cards are back. And of course, the first thing I did was go on eBay and see how much my wife's cards were going for, because once I realized that these were kind of like a proxy for the athlete, almost like, I don't know, it was if art is culture, and sports is the driving force, one of the driving forces behind modern culture, these are culture assets. And if you're married to Picasso, you should own as many Picassos as you can so that your great-great-grandkids can have them, not someone else. So that was my line of thinking. And sure enough, when I went on eBay, she had rookie cards that were selling for less than Kornikovas. And I got excited because I realized this is a huge opportunity to get a tremendous collection, you know, in no time, and for a pretty great price relative to what I thought it should be worth.
So you touched on it. What was the first card that was in the collection?
I think it was one of the Net Pro glossies, and I really didn't know what I was doing. I think I found a website that said, here are the 10 most popular Serena Williams rookie cards. And the glossy is a nice one. It is limited, but of course it's not numbered. Mm-hmm. So it's actually not the nicest one, but whatever. I liked it, it was shiny. Oh yeah, look at all these masterpieces. Oh, Galactus. You know, I never collected tennis cards as a kid because I didn't care about the sport at all. But I dug up, thankfully my dad saved nearly all of my comics, all my cards. And so I dug up and went through a lot of those. And it was interesting. You get this dose of nostalgia that even seeing, I'm trying to think of some of the cards that I got. Like I think in this collection, we should be shipping out like this Mike Piazza card that I had, which was like, I was really proud of. Like it was a really dope looking, I think it was an upper deck. It was just wild to be able to see something that I held 25, 30 years ago again. And, you know, then going down the slippery slope of buying every Serena card I could, I very quickly amassed a massive collection here.
Some people think that you just buy these Serena cards because you're married to Serena, which makes sense, but...
Is that a bad reason?
No, that's not a bad reason, but I also know that you're buying it as an investment, so...
Oh yeah. Look, I'm not doing this to flip some cards, right? We're very fortunate. I don't need to worry about paying bills with these cards. What is crucial to me is I have 2 kids now. Maybe one day I'll have grandkids. I want these culture assets that their mother or grandmother or great-grandmother spent, you know, so many years building value towards to just stay in the family. We talk a lot about building the legacy, and I think it's, of all the things that we could be passing down to our kids and our grandkids, this is one that I'm super proud of. Like I can't take any credit for the, you know, creating all the value that Serena has in this world that's imbued in those cards. But I can take credit for being early about gobbling them all up to make sure that they stay in our family. And I'm proud of that. And obviously I want our grandkids to be able to see them, enjoy them anytime they want to, and also just have them be a part of that, you know, I guess the family legacy we're trying to leave them.
So I saw the other day on one of your stories that Olympia's getting into cards.
She is. I got her a little binder. I'm so proud.
Is that like another aspect that's just like on top of everything else, really rewarding with like the whole card collecting thing, being able to actually share a passion? Like everybody says they love Paw Patrol, but really you love Paw Patrol because your daughter loves Paw Patrol. But this is something truly you both can love and bond over. Is that like really rewarding?
Oh, 100%. And it's interesting. She's getting into it. I gave her a few of those net pros to break, and obviously she was very excited to get a Serena. And I got her some of the Parkside NWSL cards, so she's filling up her binder with women's soccer players as well. She actually, on the net pros, it was funny. She didn't want to collect any of the boys. She said she pulled Nadal and was like, I don't want this guy. He's a boy. I was like, okay, well, Papa will take it. But she's very adamant about female athletes only. And then I gave her a pack of Pokemon cards recently, which she got really excited about. And then Squishables has cards, I didn't realize. Huh. So we're integrating this into her chores as part of her allowance. And so she's getting, she works hard during the week, does her chores. I'll sometimes surprise her with a pack of Squishables cards. She's still not consuming a ton of sports, but what's so cool about where the world is now is there's just such variety. Like Squishables cards definitely did not exist. Nothing like Squishables cards existed when we were kids. And so there are just many more entry points, which is exciting for boys, for girls. And, when I was a kid, I think a lot of the things we end up doing are things that, as parents, that make us a little nostalgic for when we were kids. And so my dad got me in, I get to the hobby, back with Panini sticker books. And it's a very weird entry point. He grew up for like 3 or 4 years in Italy. And when he was living in Italy, that's when the Europeans are super into these sticker books, and Panini, obviously, Italian company. And it was very weird. None of my friends were collecting NFL Panini sticker books, but my dad liked them because I think it was a thing he enjoyed doing when he was a kid, and so he shared it with me, and so we'd get those stickers and rip them and stick them in the book. And so I have tons of nostalgia. We still have those books, actually. And so I have all this nostalgic value wrapped up in these sticker books and breaking those with my dad and going through and placing them. And so I hope I'm planting the seeds now for Olympia to enjoy it as she gets older. She's only mildly interested when I have sports on, so we'll see where she gravitates. We usually have sports on in the house, but even if it's like tennis, women's soccer, NFL, NBA, she doesn't care too much.
Unless it's Taylor's team.
Yeah, that was the one time. I couldn't believe it. I was like shocked because Taylor was on the screen briefly during that Chiefs game, and she was like, "Oh my goodness, it's the red team. That's Taylor's team." And I was like, "How did you even know?" And she's like, "I'm cheering for that team." And I tried explaining to her, her mom owns the Dolphins. Her dad's been a lifelong Skins or Commanders fan, and she didn't care. She did not care. She's like, but Taylor likes the red team, so I like the red team.
Phrase it saying you are going to give a foul there, right? She's also saying in a minute, that's a yellow card for throwing a ball.
You touched on like Olympia loving women's sports cards.
Yeah.
I know you also love women's sports and women's sports cards.
Okay.
And this collection is very much a bet on the future of women's sports. Where do you see women's sports and women's sports cards going as a large in the next 10 to 20 years?
It will follow the rise of women's sports. And I think you're already seeing that momentum. Certainly since I tweeted in 2019 that I was going to buy a NWSL franchise, and Alex Morgan responded, and the rest is history with Angel City. That momentum is not going to slow down. And so even these cards will follow along that trend line. I do think it'll take longer just because the hobby still has to evolve itself. I remember going to Comic-Con in the early aughts with Reddit. And Comic-Con was super dude heavy back then. And it was pretty homogeneous as well. And holy shit, like 14, 15 years later, so many more women, so many more people of color. Like it was a whole different, it felt viscerally like a whole different conference. It was so exciting to see because you have content, whether it's anime, whether it's Marvel, whether it's all this stuff that just has broken through into the zeitgeist of youth in such a big way. And it just makes for a better conference. It just makes for better everything. And so I 10 years out, I think if we do our jobs well, the hobby will actually be more representative. And even though that's going to feel maybe weird to some of the OGs, I can assure you it is a net positive. Bringing more people in is only going to bring in more interest, more curiosity, more excitement. Like we should want this tent to be as big as possible. And what's cool, we're still, all the hype we saw in the last cycle was still very, very focused around the big four. I wouldn't even say the big four. There's a lot of basketball, a lot of NFL. Like there's, the world of sports is so much bigger. But, you know, these cards certainly are legitimized by sports because we all, you know, the OGs were what? They were in packs of tobacco and baseball players. But look at how much it's evolved. And it's crazy, like even if you had gone back in time and probably told someone who broke open one of those packs that one day it would have bubble gum in them and be for kids, they'd have been like, really? Like, cigarettes aren't for kids. I mean, they thought a lot of crazy things about cigarettes, but like, look at how much the hobby has evolved since its earliest days. And so I do think it will continue to evolve. The tent will get bigger. And I'm so bullish on sports overall in the next 10 years that I think the assets, the culture assets underlying them are going to just keep growing too.
What kind of logistics went into all of this, start to end, on the
Dude,
collection?
I mean, I ordered so many of these cards off eBay. There were tons of messages exchanged. I had Instagram DMs, lots of text messages with you. I mean, they're like, this has been a labor of love for 4 or 5 plus years, my God. And so I'm actually just happy now to see that armored truck pull up and just take them out of here so that I can also have the peace of mind that like I no longer have, let's say, a lot of value in cards sitting in my office and it's, you know, securely vaulted. I like the idea of having a very specific PSA label just for these cards. And I think it drives home this idea that this is a very intentional legacy collection that I built over years to make sure that our kids, our grandkids, our great-grandkids, et cetera, have these culture assets. It is theirs. It's something that I felt a responsibility to build for them, and it's just wonderful PSA is willing to like sort of emblazon it with that name and crystallize all that intention. I love making fun of the Mona Lisa because few people realize that it's only popular because of the meme.